Listen, the journey from being a former college player to a current college coach is not easy. But somehow Chantel's been doing it. And even though she's young in the game, she has a lot of wisdom, a lot of advice for you guys. So we talked about her journey from being a not too long ago college player to now being a very recent college coach and how she deals with relationships and balancing that line of being cool with the players but not too cool, being friendly but not too friendly, and balancing the line of respect. Also talk about her playing career, how she kind of dealt with her own confidence issues and how she overcame them as a player, and she still shined in spite of it. We talked a lot about recruiting, about the college game. It was a good conversation all around, man. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you listen to the full thing. She gets a lot of great game here. It's a great conversation. I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you for tuning in and listening. So go ahead and enjoy this episode. Without further ado, listen to the rest of the episode. Yo, what is going on, man? I am BeBall Jones. I am simply a basketball trainer that is here to bring you the blueprint, the stories, and the mindset to help you make progress in your game. Appreciate you tuning in. Let's get it. Coach, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I can't complain. I'm doing good. Have you got adjusted to being called coach yet? It was just still kind of weird.
Uh, I mean, I kind of hear it similarly, like alike. Like some people call me coach, some people just call me Chantel. But I mean, I respond to both because I understand like not everybody calls their coach coach. Some people literally call them by their first name. So, I mean, I've told them that I really don't care what they call me by, as long as it's respectful. But I mean, I respond to both.
Is it weird to kind of get that respect, being that you're so close in age?
Yeah, that was kind of a struggle, like especially for me going like GA to director of ops to like coaching.
Mhm.
It was definitely like an adjustment. But I think like having a good relationship with the players could have kind of like built that respect. So yeah.
It's kind of crazy because, like, so I'm a basketball trainer and I train kids. They're like in middle school, and
Hmm.
they don't respect me at all. And I'm like, because I'm laid back. I'm not like a yeller or nothing. I'm pretty chill.
Yeah, that's me too.
But for that reason, they just talk to me crazy. They don't talk to me crazy, but like they do stuff, and I'm like, bro, chill out. Like, come on, man. Like,
And like it's kind of the same, I feel like, with college athletes. Like they'll make like comments on the side or smart remarks, and I'm just like, I gotta remember, like I'm only like 4 years older than them. Like so I think like to a certain extent, like they understand like that there's a respect thing, but like also like they know that they can joke around at times.
yeah, I ain't figured out that line with them yet because I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm over 10 years older. Like, you got 4 years. I'm like 10 years older than all these guys. Like, come on, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I could be.
And like it took some time for me. Like there was a few times where like I actually had to be serious with them and like, okay, we need to get this done.
Mhm.
And I think that's when they kind of learned like, okay, like this is not a joking matter 24/7. Like we can have fun, but like we need to also respect her and like do what she's asking. So it definitely took some time and like adjustment, but eventually um they started to, hop on board with that.
Mm. I know that's tough for me because, like, my personality off top, I can be like, I won't say serious, but like very in depth topics and thoughts and stuff. But then, like, 5 seconds
Yeah.
later, I'm flipping to like the most goofy guy mind stuff. Or we just say stupid stuff as guys. But then 5 seconds later from
Yeah.
that, I'm back to being super serious. And I can do that in a session too, where I'm talking about something, break it down something in depth, and I'll throw a little joke in there, but then go back to being
Hmm.
serious. And I don't think their brains can always like, is coach serious or not?
Yeah.
And like,
Especially at a younger age too. Like it's either all joking or all serious. So
yeah,
I understand that for sure.
might come take notes from you on how to like be better balanced with this because that's not my forte yet.
It'll get easier over time. How old are the kids that you train?
Most of them are like middle school, and some high school kids. Like the high school kids, they get it better. I can go back and forth with
Yeah.
them. Middle school, and it's dudes too, but they just like they see me as like, oh,
Yes.
playtime. I'm like, bro, chill out, man. Like,
Yep. It's gonna take that one good time where you're gonna have to yell at them. They're gonna be shocked and then they're gonna be like, oh, he's serious, okay.
I hope I don't ever have to get to that point where I can like get it through before we get to that wall. And I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
remember, it's the relationship we have here. You know, I know I'm cool,
Yeah.
I know I'm chill, but hey, let's keep this line right here. We don't want to go past it. So,
Right. Yep. I agree.
mm. So what's been like your biggest challenge from player to coach?
Oof. That's hard. I feel like definitely like the relationship part of it. I feel like that took me the longest just because like there was some players on the team who were my teammates when I was a player. So it was kind of like building that, I guess, those boundaries between us. Outside of like the relationship part, I would just say like the behind the scenes stuff. Like as a player, like we would only see like, okay, what the coaches did on the court or like what they would say in games or timeouts. But like there's so much other work that goes on behind the scenes, like scouting and all of that. So I think like actually seeing what exactly goes into like preparing your team to compete was definitely like something that I had to adjust to, like staying up all hours of the night just to finish a scout, just to prepare the team and hope that they listen to the scout. um so I would definitely say like that was a huge adjustment for me. And then yeah, that was pretty much like something that I'm still adjusting to today and like just trying to figure out like a routine for myself and just how things should be done from a coaching aspect.
I feel like the coaching your teammates part has to be kind of like we talked about earlier, like the very difficult transition because we were just like I was in this seat next to you a few weeks ago, a
Yeah.
few months ago.
Yeah, and I think like I'm kind of glad like I was a grad assistant the following year, so like it kind of like forced me to I guess create those boundaries. And like you said, like I'm kind of like the laid back, like I don't do a lot of yelling or like, harping on them. So like they always took me as like I was joking or like,
Mhm,
just friendly. And that's okay, but I think you also have to understand like I've transitioned into a new role, so like things have changed. Like okay, like we can still talk about basketball and outside life, but like to a certain extent like you have to understand that like it's different now and like I can't technically be your friend all the time, which was hard for sure cuz like some of those girls like I was roommates with as a
mhm,
player and like we did team bonding outside of the court and then like you have to tell them like oh like we can't really hang out like that like so I mean like it was hard for me and it was also hard for the other players that I was teammates with but like I feel like they did well at understanding
mhm,
that like I've transitioned and like they were able to understand that and kind of respect that. So,
mhm. Have you ever had a moment where it was like you saw them as friends still and you kind of acted on that versus, oh, I'll snap, I'm in coach mode. I gotta like go back to coaching. Like, did you ever have a specific moment like that?
I don't really think so. I'm actually trying to recall. I mean, I don't think so. I've always been like, even like when I was on the team, like I've always been like the mentor type. So like I always was looked at, I guess, as like not the mom of the team, but like,
Hmm.
someone that like people gravitate to and like can just like genuinely come to about anything. So I don't think that like I mean, I would say outside the court, maybe like off the court. Like I know, like I was invited to like team gatherings and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm not on the team anymore. I'm not gonna go to this. But other than that, I don't think there were too many like situations like on the court, like because for me, like it was more like learning as a GA and kind of like I felt like in a way like mentoring them. So like I felt like they enjoyed that part of it because like it wasn't like they were being like coached hard by me, but like more so could like I guess, like, learn and gravitate towards me more in a sense, just because, like, of course, the age gap and then just, like, knowing the system since I was just a player, so
Mm. And how has your relationship been with the other coaches? Is it hard to kind of like snap in for you that you're on equal footing now? Like I'm not little player anymore. Like we know we're equal coaches. Now, is that hard for you to get into?
yes and no. I think, like, I would say yes just because, of course, looking back 3 years ago, like, they were literally coaching me, and now I'm like in meetings in them, like talking about coaches stuff. So I think like they understood that, of course, like they knew, like I know in certain meetings and stuff, like they understood like I was going through this as a player. Like if a player was struggling, like I'm like, dang, that's exactly what I was experiencing as a player. But I think like kind of shifting onto the staff side of things, they're very welcoming, and like I feel like they allowed me to grow. Like they allowed me to make mistakes. They allowed me to not know certain things, and to like make me comfortable in those situations. So I definitely think I've learned a lot, and like they've been like great mentors to me, like and helping me learn like exactly how things work on the coaching side of things. So it's been fun to say the least. Like it's been nerve wracking at times because like I've kind of been thrown into the fire with some things, but like also at the end of the day, I know they have my back for whatever. So it's been good.
Mhm. Has it been something that kind of surprised you? Like as a player, you're thinking this is how it is at coach, but now you're actually coaching. I'm like, oh, I really have no clue about any of this for real.
Yeah, it's definitely been like a lot of learning, like I said. I think I've like kind of gradually been going up as far as like being a GA, then director of ops. So I've like been learning more skills as I've gone on. Um, and like I said before, like actually seeing all of what goes into the coaching side, like I feel like people think it's just the X's and O's, and like it's literally not. Like it's 90% something else, and like that 10% is actually coaching. So I think like actually being able to be in that realm and like see exactly what goes into the day to day coaching life, quote unquote, has been fun and interesting in a sense.
Yeah, I think every single college coach I've talked to and interviewed, they said something like that where you kind of feel like outside looking in, it's all about the X and O. As long as you get the game plan and the strategy right, you're gonna be good and the team's gonna be solid. And you get into it, and it's like you have to manage personalities. You have to make sure they're being just decent human beings, make sure they're good students. All these other factors go into it. And then not to kind of single y'all out, but dealing with women is totally different from dealing with guys. So you have different
Yeah,
women issues that you have to deal with and challenges you have to deal with that versus with guys. Like we don't have half the issues that we have to deal with like compared to y'all. And so
right.
it's just a eye opening experience to be like, oh snap! As a coach, I have to deal with 10 billion other things I thought I wouldn't even think about besides the game plan.
No, yeah, that's real for real. Like you said, like the personality part and just like making sure they're good outside of basketball, like in the classroom, in the community, and like you said, just being a good human. So I feel like it sounds kind of funny, but like I feel like we're their parents at school. Just kind of like being those mentors and making sure they go to class and making sure they're at study hall, and it's so much other things that go into it. So like yeah. Yeah. But it's fun. Like I think especially for me as a player, like I loved my coaches like through my basketball career, and like to this day, like some of them are my mentors, and like I feel like they've allowed me to, I guess, be in this position and prepare me for this. So I think like a lot of the girls like look up to their coaches a lot and like know that like we're here for them outside of like what happens on the court. And I think that's what it's all about. So
Mm. So when you were a kid, take me back to being, young, like 8-year old. Did you want to be a coach growing up, or was it just ball this life? Like, what was the goal for you?
so actually at 8 years old, I wasn't playing basketball yet. Crazy as it sounds, but I was actually a cheerleader. So coaching was not even in my mind at that time. At that time, of course, I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be a nurse, I wanted to go to law school, like it was everything but coaching. And then once I got to middle school was like kind of when I took basketball more serious. And that's when like honestly, I'm going to be honest, like coaching didn't hit my mind until like college when I was about to graduate. And like for some reason, like I just felt like I couldn't let go of basketball. Like I had such a love for it. Like I love the environment of athletics, and like I don't know, it kind of sparked my mind like, oh, like maybe I can be a coach, or maybe I want to be a coach. Because at that point in time, like I wanted to do something like medical field or something. And so like it wasn't until like my last couple years of college where I'm like, okay, like I really love this. Like why not make a career out of it? Like So it wasn't until like late in my like career that I actually figured out like coaching is what I wanted to do. And then like I feel like that those grad assistant years were like what really triggered like, okay, this is like something that I'm really interested in. Like I can see myself growing in this profession. So like, and here I am.
Mm. So why didn't you try to go overseas or do anything else in basketball? Like why coaching?
Um, I feel like the opportunity presented itself. Like I remember at the end of my last year, I was talking with my current boss and coach at the time, just about like life after basketball. And she had mentioned like being a GA, and like I feel like once she like mentioned that opportunity to me, like I just kind of took it and ran with it. Um, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do grad school. Like I'm gonna get back into school, like get my master's degree, and like be able to be involved with basketball. And I guess just like give back to the community. Like I'm from San Antonio. I was blessed to be able to play one my last year here. So like I kind of want to like I guess invest in the community, give back in a sense, and just kind of grow the game here in San Antonio. So that was kind of really what motivated me to stay, be a GA, and like especially the people that I was working for. Like I work for some pretty good names out in women's basketball. So I think like actually being able to start with them and grow with them and have them as mentors, I think was really, I guess, motivated me to continue my journey with coaching.
Tell me about the hoop scene in San Antonio though, because like we think about Texas basketball and it automatically goes to Houston and Dallas and a little bit of Austin, but that's probably more football. So what's the hoop scene like in San Antonio?
I definitely think it's growing. I think from when I was younger, like there were some really good players that came out of San Antonio. And I think it's just continuing to grow. I think more people are putting their eyes on San Antonio recruits. And I think the AAU programs that have been developed here are continuing to grow. And like, it's just being a name within Texas, I would say, as far as recruiting. So I think, I mean, like I said, when I was younger, like I said, there were a few kids who were just like stupid good and like people knew of them. But I think there was so many more people that like could have gone under the radar, but like I think it's definitely starting to grow a name for itself and like people are actually noticing the San Antonio talent. And I think that definitely starts with the high schools. I think there's been some like incredible high school coaches that have been able to I guess develop high school kids and prepare them for the college level as well as like AAU programs. So I think it's definitely growing and I'm excited for the growth. So
So being on the women's side of things, what was like your view of the Spurs? Like were they like, ah, it's cool, or was it kind of like the average basketball fan saw it, like, ah, it's just San Antonio, it's kind of boring. Like what was your thought like you growing up there?
uh I mean, I wasn't all, I've never really been a huge Spurs fan. I hope people don't come for me after this. But like I said, I've definitely like liked the players that have played for the Spurs. I think there are a lot of Spurs fans in San Antonio. Like, why not? If your city has a team, I would feel like most of the population would be rooting for that team. But I think just like so many outside fans too from other states, especially like in the Tony Parker era and Ginobili and, you know, all of those big names. And so those were players who I actually liked as well. So like I went to a few Spurs games. I feel like I kind of grew up around the Spurs. Like my grandma was a huge Spurs fan. So like I had to partially like them in a sense. But yeah, I definitely think the city is big on the Spurs and I feel like it's continuing to grow, like I mentioned with other college hoops. So yeah.
So what was the did y'all have the WNBA team when you were a kid?
Yeah, we actually did, and I was sad when like they moved elsewhere. But it was the San Antonio Silver Stars.
Mhm.
So I remember like Becky Hammond played on that team, and I remember I went to quite a few games. Sheesh, I can't even remember when they started the team or when they even left. I think because now they're the Aces.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a team in San Antonio. I wish they would bring one back, but yeah, there was one.
So I heard it's gonna be 4 new teams by like 2026. I think they add into the W.
Is it four? I hope it's four, but I've only heard of two, I feel like.
Yeah, I read something not too long ago that's supposed to be trying to add four more teams. Like it's going to be
Yeah.
two. I don't know if it's going to be two then two or two and four, something like that. But they're adding more teams. So like by 2 or 3 more years, it's going to be four more teams, whatever that number ends up being. So
Yeah. No, that's good because, I mean, especially on the women's side, like, I feel like there's a lot of players who don't get to make WNBA teams just because, like, it's limited spots. And then, of course, you have vets who aren't retiring. So it kind of makes it more challenging in that aspect. So
are you talking about Diana Taurasi not retiring? You talking about her? Oh,
I feel like there's a lot of them out there. I feel like, I mean, and like I respect it. Like I'm not saying like, oh, like all the vets need to retire. Like I think like I respect it. Like I feel like they've grown the game in so many ways, but like now there's so many younger people who like are trying to make roster spots and it's just not able just because of the how many spots there are. Like I think for the first time I heard the other day like the youngest player on the Storm was 21, I think. So like even like the international kids like they're coming over here 19 or 20 and like they're competing with people who graduated from college and like it's just a lot of competition and like not enough spots, I feel like. So,
yeah, I made
yeah.
a video about that, about how the W needs to hurry up and figure this out because
Yep.
like the Caitlin Clark wave is here, and hopefully
Mhm.
they capitalize on that. But college women's game is slowly getting more and more popular. So you're gonna have Paige coming out next year, and then you're gonna I can't remember the classes and stuff, but like in a couple of years you're gonna have Juju come in, like no telling how big
Yeah.
she gonna be by the time she's draft eligible. So they need to tighten up
Yep, that's
something
very true.
because you don't want to miss out on Caitlin, Paige, whoever, Juju, and who knows what's coming after that. So
Yeah, I
uh,
know. I know. It was crazy because I don't know, I was scrolling through social media the other day and it was like a 2029 point guard. Like, I mean, she was shifty, like super good. And I sent it to one of our other coaches and it's just crazy how young they are, but like how talented. So, like, I can only imagine, like, as the years go on, like the talent level and how it's going to expand on the women's side. So, I'm excited, but of course, as you mentioned, like the W's got to expand.
yeah, either that or they're gonna be in trouble and have some competition coming. So
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I hope they can figure it out though, because like why
I
not?
think they will, like, hopefully in a timely manner, but like I think they'll figure it out. And like as you mentioned with like the college game growing, like I feel like that's a clear indication that we need to expand at the pro level too. So,
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they can just listen to you and get your advice coming in. But like, you know what? She said that, so we're gonna listen to her and just do better now.
I'm down here, they got people up here talking. So, I'll wait my turn to speak.
I mean, you're not gonna be down here forever. You feel me? You're gonna
That's
grow.
true.
Like so, okay, that's a good segue. What is like your goal with coaching? Do you want to stay in college game? Do you want to go pro? Like, what do you want to be as a coach?
So I guess like at least right now, my ultimate goal is to be a head coach at the Division 1 level. Um, I think eventually I wouldn't mind going pro. I feel like things are definitely different, I guess, when it comes to like professional and then just like collegiate wise. Like so far, like I love the collegiate side of things. So like yeah, I definitely aspire to be a head coach at a Division 1 one day. And then maybe, later when I get a little bit older, maybe I'll go to the pros if I have the opportunity. But of course I would love to make a name for myself at the college level. So
So, are we
that's the
talking?
goal.
Are we talking like Power Five? You trying to like rival Dunn and go at her neck, or you chilling just like mid major? What we talking here?
I mean, I haven't really made those clear goals yet. I think eventually, of course, P5 is the goal, but like I wouldn't mind like okay, if I get a head coaching job at a mid-major. Like I feel like everything's a stepping stone. So, if I do start off there, grow my I guess expertise
Mhm.
and eventually like the opportunity may present itself. I don't think it's anytime soon, but hey, we'll see. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind like starting at a mid major, winning the league. Like I feel like you
Mhm.
gotta, make your strides. But yeah, I mean, even if I was like an associate head coach or assistant coach at a P5, like I feel like that would be like a good stepping stone, at least like network and things like that. So
Mhm. I feel like I'll be a dope assistant coach. Because I just don't want to, like, for me personally, I like the ability to not have to be serious all the time, and I can joke with players more. And I like the
yeah,
intimacy of the relationships. When you're the head coach, you kind of lose touch of that just a little bit because you have to manage so much. And so
yeah.
I would love to be an assistant coach.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of it. That's why I said maybe when I'm a little older and, I guess established. um, but yeah, I would definitely agree. Like I feel like when you're the head coach, like you're the face of the program, like you have so many other things to deal with and worry about. And then like as an assistant coach, you kind of have that, like you said, like the relationship part and just like having the voice without having like the face.
Mhm.
So, in a sense. So yeah.
Yeah, just think me as like player development coach, and I'll be good. That's my role. Just let me train the players and look cool on the sideline on a game day, and then back to training. That's all I
Right.
want to do.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your specific title again? Like, what's your title as the coach?
That's great. So my right now I'm going to be transitioning into a new role
Hmm.
in a couple months. So right now I'm director of operations. I still have the ability to be on the court and coach in a sense. But yeah, in a few months I'll be transitioning to actual assistant coach and recruiting coordinator. So yeah, little change of duties and stuff, but it's kind of more tailored to what I want to do and like prepare me for my next steps. So that's my title as of now.
Well, congratulations. On
Thank you.
your step up. But what's like what do you feel like your thing is as a coach? Do you feel like it's going to be like the X's and O's? Is it going to be recruiting? Like, what do you feel like looking outside, looking in? What do you feel like your thing's going to be? Like, I'm going to be a coach that can do this the best.
So, hmm, that's a good question. I'm not too sure if it'll be recruiting. I feel like I enjoy it. I think I could be, I mean, like I said, I'm still like transitioning into that role, so I haven't had too much experience with it. So I feel like that part of it will come. I feel like I'm a personable person, so like I'm good at talking. So I don't think that will be an issue. But I think like when it comes to like actual basketball, like I love offense. So I would like to like specialize in the offensive side of things. So whatever that entails, like I feel like that's what I kind of pride myself on and like I feel like I'm able to pick the game that way. Not that like I can't do that on defense, but I feel like my preference is offense, but of course like knowing all spectrums is great, but like if I had to pride myself on one thing it would be offense. So,
You just made me think about this. I think most coaches who were players probably have, like, I'm not saying they're bad on one end or other, but they're stronger on one end or the other.
yeah, I think for me, it's just like, I guess my IQ, like, I feel like I can see, like, I feel like I can break down a team's defense and, like, know what will work on offense against that team. But, like, I mean, I've seen, like, there was a coach on our staff this past year, like, she was, like, not strictly defense, but, like, she loved defense and, like, that's what, like, she prided herself on. Like, she knew what would work against certain teams. And,
Hmm.
like, I feel like for me, like, I love the offensive side of it. Like, so, I mean, yeah, I definitely think like I think it just depends. Like, I mean, for me as a player, like I felt like I prided myself on defense. But I guess like on the other side of things, I guess like when it comes to just like vision and like and that's another thing. I think like the transition has definitely like allowed me to see the game from another like perspective versus like actually being on the court and like seeing it from a different perspective, whether it's like film or like, third person.
Hmm.
So I think that's maybe what like guided me towards like loving offense more, but like that's kind of like what I prefer.
Hmm. She was giving clamps out there on the court.
I would say yeah, like most of the time, like I usually guarded the other team's best player, but I mean, like I feel like defense came down to effort, and like that's what I always had. So
Mm.
yeah.
Talk to me about defense, because I get like I'm a defensive guy too, and I understand defense is effort. Like that's like the first main ingredient that comes into being a great defender. But I feel like
Hmm.
people just boil it down to like you just have to try hard and you'll be a great defender. You just give a lot of effort. You have to give enough energy and you'll be a great defender. And then I get annoyed by that because I'm like, if that was true, it'll be a lot harder to score against people if I just gave great effort. And I'm like, that just annoys me. So I want like, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think like you said, like effort's the number one thing. Like if you don't have that, then like you can't really even, I guess, try to defend somebody. But I definitely think, at least I can speak for the college level, like it comes down to personnel and like kind of studying like what, I guess, what works best for you. Like I've seen both sides of it. Like I've seen a defender who's like more smart, so they take away angles. But I've also seen like pesky defenders that like pressure you more to, I guess, like put you in uncomfortable situations. So I think like, and then of course, like at the college level, like it's scout based and like knowing what people can do best and what they can't do best. So I think it really comes down to like IQ as well. Like I feel like you just have to read the game and like, I guess, play as the game is going on. Like you might do something defensively one play down and then like you have to change it up the next play.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's never consistent, but I feel like actually knowing the game and like knowing who you're playing against makes it easier in a sense. But like of course it also comes down to like the fundamentals of the game. Like so
Yeah,
that's my viewpoint on it. But of course, like yeah, it's not strictly effort. It's definitely like strategy as well. But
yeah. And
yeah,
I think that's why I get annoyed because there's a level of like IQ to it. So like you said, if if I'm a 94 feet pressure type of college guard, right? And I'm just focusing on giving effort. At some point, I have to have IQ to say, okay, why am I pressuring them so much? Am I going to
right.
do the
Yeah.
same thing every single time? Am I going to bait them into getting a turnover here? Am I going to bait them into going to this trap? Am I going to, force them to turn one way versus the other? Do I know I have a double team set up at half court versus we're just, playing back and man? And it's my job to pressure the ball hand. Like there's a little bit more strategy that goes into it, whether it's like the individual chess game or the overall team scheme and game plan of it. And then, like you said, it's personality matchup. So this might be like a scorer versus the playmakers. This is so much more that goes into it than just effort.
No, for sure. And I think like that may have been like the biggest struggle that I've witnessed like on the coaching side of things when it comes to defense. Like, I mean, there's been players who have been able to pick up on it like quicker than others, but like I've definitely noticed that that's something that like I guess the transition from high school to college is so much different just because like it's not just like having the right footwork or like, cutting off the baseline. Like it's actually like using your brain, like knowing if this person's a driver or a
Mhm.
shooter or like, what their tendencies are. So I feel like that has been something that I've noticed a lot, like from the high school game to the college game, just like that transition. Like in high school, like I mean, there are some schools that like have a certain philosophy for defense, but it's more so just like guard the ball, rebound, like box out. Like at the college level, like I feel like it's a little bit different in a sense that like that's not only your focus, like it's also like help side and so many different things that go into it. Like are you in the right position to help? Like are you dropping backside when somebody else is helps?
Mhm.
So I think it's just like you said, a lot more that goes into it, but of course like that depends on like the grade level and like what level of basketball that you're trying to teach or coach.
Yeah. So I'm just glad I got a college coach to like confirm my thoughts. I don't sound crazy no more. But
For sure.
but nah. Okay. From high school player to college player versus from college player to college coach. When you think about the coaching that went into you being a player from high school to coach? And now that you're a college coach, do you feel like the coaching at the high school level is doing a good job of preparing players for the pro? Not the pro, for college.
Coach. It depends. I definitely depends. I think it depends on the school. It depends on like the experience of the coach and like your caliber of players that you have. I can only speak on myself, and I mean, I feel like I had a good high school coach. I think she prepared me in ways that some coaches don't necessarily prepare their athletes for in high school. Um and I think it was because like most of our players on our team wanted to either play in college or like, had hopes of playing after high school. So I think that kind of like changes the trajectory of things and like how you approach every day as a coach. But I think it's getting better. I definitely think some of the high school, I guess, or the college freshmen that are coming in from high school, like more so have an idea of what to expect in college. Like, of course, it's not the same. Like, the pace is different, like, the style of play is different. But I think when it comes down to like fundamental skills that like any basketball player should know, like, I guess to even play at an elite level, is more so being taught at the high school level. So I definitely think it was different from when I was a player. Like I said, I can only speak for myself, kind of, but I think I did have a pretty good high school coach that kind of, I guess, in a sense, prepped me for college in a certain instance. Of course, not everything, but for the most part.
What do you feel like the main core lessons that you learned from your coach was that, like, okay, I learned this in high school and these five things or whatever prepared me the most for college ball?
Hmm, I would say the work ethic for sure. I think that's something that translated well for me. Like, I've seen some kids in high school not work very hard and then they get to college and think that that's going to get them a starting spot, and it's not. Um, so I think work ethic for sure. What else? I think my mentality too. I think like mental toughness was one thing, like just being able to get over things quicker and like being okay with like failing, I guess. Um and then when it comes to basketball, I think just pace. Like at my high school, like we played at a fast pace. So I think like when I got to college, like I wasn't shocked. Like, yeah, we had a shot clock, but we didn't in high school, so that was a little bit different. But like as far as like going up and down and like being able to transition from offense to defense, like I understood that already. So I would definitely think those three things was something that kind of carried over from high school and like lessons that I learned from my high school coach.
You said mental toughness. What does that mean to you?
Mm, I feel like it comes to a lot. I feel like in the game of basketball, like it's not always going to go your way. And I feel like in high school, for the most part, things go your way. Like you can do kind of whatever you want. So, I think just like being okay with failing and like being able to get over that, or like being able to be coached and like not letting that affect you in a sense. Like, okay, like my coach yelled at me that like I'm not good enough on defense. Well, like fix that. Like, don't just go and pout about it. So I think like just having like a tough mindset, like getting over things quickly, bouncing back from things that may have not went your way, um, and just being tough. Like you got to be in basketball. Like I said, everything's not going to go your way, and like you have to always figure a way to, I guess, get over that hump at the end of the day. So I think just like mentally, like not allowing yourself to dwell on things for a long period of time.
What was like your biggest mental hurdle as a player? Like this one thing I just couldn't get over mentally. That's like your stumbling block.
Mm, I think, I don't know. I would say like my confidence. Like I think in a sense, like my offense kind of dictated my defense. Not always, but like if I was in a slump, like that would affect me on the defensive end, and like it would just be mistake after mistake after mistake. So I think like that was something that I kind of had to learn quickly. Like, you're not going to shoot well every game. Like, that's okay. Like, it happens to the best players out here. So I think like confidence was something that I struggle with a lot in college. Just trusting myself to play my role and like do what I do, regardless of the outcome, or making shots, missing shots, like whatever the case may be. So I would definitely say that.
Okay. What was like your role in high school? Because you're telling me you were a defender kind of surprises me when you say that.
So in high school, I would definitely say like defense was something that, like I said, I prided myself on. But like, I guess like overall, like I feel like I played like the one and the two. So like at times I was the point guard, and like at times like I was just a two guard, mostly a shooter. But then on the defensive end, like I felt like my team relied on me to guard the best player, as I mentioned. They're
Mm.
always like, Chantel, you got her. I'm like, you don't want to guard her. So I mean, like, yeah, I would say that was my role.
Dang, that's still interesting though, because most defenders, their mindset is like, all right, offense ain't going. All right, cool. I'm just not finna have it tonight. So defense, what I have. So for you to say like my offense wasn't going and that impacted your defense is a little surprising. Like, what do you think? Like, how did that happen for you?
I think it was just like my mentality. Like, I was the type that like allowed the past play to impact the next play. Like, I was that type of player for like some time until like I had to get over it. And like, of course, I was coached and had multiple conversations with my coach, and like I had to get over it in a sense. But I think like that was the reason why like I would turn over the ball on offense, and then like not in a sense give up on defense, but like I don't know, I just wouldn't have the same urgency until, of course, like I mean, I feel like around my junior, because as a freshman, like I was on varsity, but like I didn't play as much. So of course, like, you go in and make one mistake, you coming out. So I think like that's kind of like my my sophomore year I played a little bit more. But I think like my freshman sophomore year is when like I struggle with that the most, cuz like of course I knew I didn't get much minutes like at a young age, so like I feel like I had to capitalize on whatever minutes I did get. So like if I made a mistake, it would just like completely throw my mental off. So I think as I got older, like junior, senior year, like it wasn't as big of a deal for me. And like I said, I kind of started to take more pride on defense. Like, okay, like I just turned the ball over, like I'm about to get a stop and you're not scoring. So that was kind of my mentality as I got older, of course. But yeah.
So what was it that helped you with that mental shift? Like I know you said you had conversation with coaches, but what helped you kind of go from not as confident, messing up, making mistakes to being more confident to where the mindset, changed for you?
I think just like my role, like I started to play more, and like I knew that like my coach depended on me to not just produce, but just be, I guess, that glue player for the team. So I think like part of it, like that just had to be my role. And like if I wanted to play, I had to do what was asked of me, or like what was expected. So I think like a lot of that played a part into it. But I think like I just matured in a sense. Like I understood that like things weren't going to go my way every time. And I also seen it happen to other good players too. So like I knew that it wasn't just me that it was happening to. So like in a sense, I think I just matured, and like my mentality changed. Like if you can't contribute on offense, like find a way to contribute on defense, or vice versa. So ultimately just like my mentality and how I responded to things. And even in high school, like it's crazy enough, but like we read a lot of books just for basketball. Like our coach would get us like a book on like I said, mental toughness, or like, some aspect of like that you could apply to basketball. And I think like those actually like were beneficial to me. Like, so it's kind of weird, but like it was kind of cool too. Like just to see like, cause like collectively as a team, we would read them and like, discuss and like, how can we apply it? Just like the simple stuff like that. But like, I think it actually did make a difference, like individually, and like just like our team's perspective on things.
What were some of the books that you read?
Um, I can only really remember one because I actually like this one, but it was Chop Wood, Carry Water. And then we also read another, we read like maybe a couple other books. I just can't remember their names, but they were more like life lesson books and stuff like that.
So what did you take from chopping wood and carrying water? Like, was it a lumberjack book? Somebody was a lumberjack and they chopped wood and carried
I don't
water.
really remember if I'm being honest. Like if I were to like pick up the book and read a couple pages, like I think that was so long ago. It may not sound like it, but it was a long time ago. But like it just like I guess yeah, it told a story about you know what, I don't remember that much, so I'm not even gonna try to make up something that it's not. But it was a good book. Like I've actually seen other athletes read it. Um so I think it's like a commonly known like book to recommend to like athletes when it comes to like sports. So
So are you gonna start doing that for the players now? You gonna start going back? You should call your old coach up and be like, hey, you need a list of those books, and you start giving them out to the girls.
I know. I mean, I feel like, and this is the thing with college, I feel like you kind of gotta, I guess with anywhere, not really just college, but I feel like you have to learn and understand what works best for like each individual player. And like I felt like I've experienced that like every player is different. Like a book might help one person and like actually seeing film might help another person. So like I think like I mean I wouldn't mind recommending it to the team, but I don't think I would like, oh, you need to read this book by, whenever and we're going to discuss. Like I think it would be beneficial like just if they wanted to on their leisure time, but I don't think I would like require them to read this book. But I mean, I've actually one of our players on our team this year, like she was super into like studying the game and like books like that helped her with just like different things that she could, I guess, like apply in her time as an athlete, like on the court. So, I mean, everybody's different, like I said. So it's just a matter of if some do like to read, like I can recommend those books, but it depends.
So is that part of your coaching strategy to make sure that you're connecting with the girls where they need to be met?
Yeah. Like you said, especially like when I'm so close in age, like it may be I found that like they're better expressing things to me than they may be like our head coach, especially if it's like stuff that like they're unsure about or they're scared to tell our head coach about. Like eventually, of course, like if it's something out of my hands, like they'll have to take it to the head coach. But I found that like I feel like I'm understanding enough and like they feel comfortable enough to like express things that aren't going right or they need help with such and such. So I really like value that part of my job and like just being that person for them to go to whether they don't feel comfortable like talking to another coach. So I always tell them like I'm always here. I'm an open ear. Like it's not my responsibility to go tell anybody else, but like just like establishing that relationship and that trust I think is important.
How do you keep that boundary between like how do you know for you what do you keep in with the players and what do you transition to like another coach or whatever?
It definitely depends on what it is that they're discussing. Like if it's something that like, can just be fixed through like venting, and I feel like I'm that open ear and like I can offer advice. But if it's something that's like more, I guess, in trouble or, something out of my hands that like I can't handle, I feel like that's usually when I have to go to another coach. I haven't really had too many of those experiences. Like most of the time, the head coach already knows, and like I'm just there like for moral support. But I feel like it definitely depends on the situation. Like I said, if it's like something minute, like I need advice about this, or like I'm not doing well in this class, or like I'm mentally just out of it today, like stuff like that, just like day-to-day conversations that like they can just vent and let whatever it is they're experiencing out. But if it's like more like stuff, like I said, above my pay grade, I'm gonna direct it to the head coach.
Yeah, I think that's a tough dance to, tiptoe between because there's like you don't want to betray anybody's trust,
Hmm.
but at the same time you do have like uh, a protocol. You know what I mean? Like you have to protect yourself at
Yeah.
the same time too. So,
And that's why I'm kind of like careful with like advice or what I tell them from there. Like if I know that it's something that like needs to go to our head coach or whoever else administration, like I will tell them right there, like I think this is something that you need to discuss with so and so. Like I'm not too sure I can help you in this situation. And like at the end of the day, like it is what it is. Like I would always tell them up front before I just go behind their back and tell them, unless it's like something that a head coach needs to know, and like I don't necessarily need to tell them that I'm going to tell the coach. Like it's just like I said, it's a level of trust, and like at the end of the day, I have to do my job, and if that's to go and report whatever it is, then it is what it is. But like I said, I try to be open and careful what I say, like in response to whatever they tell me.
hmm. Oh, I feel like that's tough because like part of me feels like I couldn't be a college coach at all just because it's. We talked about this before we started recording, like all the new stuff y'all got going on, NIL transfers. I'm like, I'm good with
Yeah,
that, man. Like I just think you learn that on top of the the system that is the NCAA, and they have a lot of weird rules in place. And I'm like, this is all stupid, and I just couldn't subscribe to that stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just stay in my level of training, and I can do more of what I want to do, and just let y'all do
yeah.
what y'all want to do.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely changing, and I feel like it's only going to continue to change. Like I said, I'm still trying to learn half the rules and the do's and don'ts, and it's just so much to like have to understand. And like I feel like there's something new added every week, or like there's a change on how to do X, Y, and Z. So it's definitely a lot of change happening, and I feel like they're making it harder. But like I guess, like I said, there's a mechanism behind why they're doing what they're doing. So yeah, a lot to consider and all that.
Mm. So what's been the most fun part so far? Because I know it isn't all just like learning and crap. But what's been the most enjoyable and fun part about being a coach?
I just think like seeing the players grow. Like I feel like in a year, like I've definitely been able to witness like the growth of our players, and like on the court wise, like just like maturity wise, like I feel like actually just like from me previously being a player and like understanding like how that journey is, like I think it's definitely like appreciative to see like your athletes actually growing and like, getting better. So
Mhm.
I think that's been fun. Um, yeah, and I think just like learning, like for me, like I'm like constantly learning something new every day. And so I think like just like being present in the moment and just like soaking up as much as I can has been fun. Networking has been fun. I think like just I know there's a lot of young coaches in my same position, and we all trying to, grow and better ourselves. So that has been fun too, like just interacting with other people like my age and even like some of the best in the game. So that's been pretty fun too.
Yeah, I think the development part is the most rewarding part. Like, of course, I'm not a coach, but it's just my end of things. Like, that's the most fun part because the
Yeah.
enjoyment they get out of it. Like, they've been struggling in this area, struggling with this thing,
Yeah.
or like they're struggling with a drill or whatever, and they finally overcome it. Like, the energy that they bring, like, yes, I finally got it. I soak up some of that too. Cause like I've seen, like you said,
Yeah.
I've seen it from a third person point of view. I've seen you go through this, the ups and downs, the highs and lows. You to finally get over that hump. I'm just like, I feel
Yeah.
good
And
for
it's
you.
crazy because like I know like there's been instances like this past year with some of our players, like they don't even recognize the growth that like they made like since the summer to now. Like we had some that couldn't pass with their left hand, and now like they're making one-handed left hand passes, and I'm like, you did that the whole second half of the season, and like you could barely even use your left hand when you got here.
Yeah.
So like I think like some of them like they beat themselves up so much about like what they couldn't do, and like in a blink of an eye, like they don't notice how much progress they've made. But like I feel like as coaches, like we can notice every little inch, like, and
Mhm.
even game by game, like, oh, they weren't doing that last game, but like we harped on them about it, or like, told them like what may work better, and like they actually apply that. So I think like that's been like the most rewarding part is like actually seeing the players like, I guess like adjust and like make adjustments in their game to like make themselves better. So yeah, it's definitely the fun part of it too. And
Yeah.
especially when they recognize it too, like we
Mhm.
had a few players this year. They're like, "Coach, I did it." I'm like, "I seen it." Like, so, like, it's actually rewarding to actually like see them like and know that they're getting better and like trusting the coaching staff. Like, so it's fun. It's actually fun.
Yeah, I think the best part, I don't know which one's better, but I've experienced both. I don't know if it's better when you like have the quiet, shy kid and they finally like show that personality and open up to you, or when you see like a big jump in somebody's game. I don't know which one I like more, but I've seen both of them, and both of them just like, oh man, it gets you.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I agree. Like, I think I've seen both sides of it too, like both scenarios, and I think like yeah, it's awesome. Like, so
Yeah, because I think for the first one, you start to see how they trust you now. Because you
hmm
got your guard. Like I would be that kid in a situation. I'm like the quiet kid who just like tell me what to do, and we're gonna go through this drills, we can go through this whatever.
hmm
Let me get up out of here, and we done.
And then I feel like you also get to experience like dang, I lost my train of thought. But I think like just like their confidence too, like
Yeah.
at first like they would avoid something at all costs. Like they wouldn't even try it. And then like as time goes on, like they grow that confidence and then of course like I think like eventually the ultimate goal is just like the leadership part of it too. Like now they can show other girls like I couldn't do this at first, but like obviously you see now I can do it. And so like I think just like instilling that confidence in themselves and others like is fascinating too. Like
Mhm.
so
Yeah. That's the beautiful part of it. Like you feel like a proud parent, and it's just like, damn.
I know. Yeah.
Oh man. So, uh, then he said something else. I should have wrote it down. Oh yeah, the networking and the connections part. I have grown to realize the power of that on both ends of it. I'll say so. Like the power of not having networking connections and the power of having networking connections. Because
Yeah.
I'm in a situation right now where if I had more connections, or if I had more of an influence over authority, I guess you could say, this
Mhm.
process would be easier for me. But because I don't have it, I'm struggling. But I've been on the other side of it where it's just a text or a phone call away, being like, "Hey, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z." Oh, I got you, man. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game.
Yeah. And for me like I said like I've kind of I've had to get out my comfort zone a little bit just cuz like once I'm like used to like a group of people, like I just like migrate to them always and I like don't try to expand like, who I know or
Mhm,
whatever. So I feel like I've definitely had to grow outside of that and like especially when it comes to recruiting, like
mhm,
that and then just like you never know like where your next job might be and like you could have made a connection at Walmart and then I don't know, that person's hiring you next year or something. So I think like it's definitely like allowed me to get out my comfort zone and just like build those connections with like different coaches and of course student athletes when it comes to recruiting. So like I definitely think it's important and it's only getting like more important, especially with like how the society works nowadays. Like it's really about who you know and like, not saying it's not about what you know, but like more so like who you know and like who you can call, like even if it's like at a different school, like you can call up another coach and like, ask about a certain player or a certain team. Like and if you know that person, it's a lot more likely for them to share that information versus like if you don't know them and they're like, okay, this coach is calling me about such and such, and like, I don't know her like that. So like,
yeah.
it definitely plays a part in coaching for sure, and like that's something I'm still trying to learn and like do better at. So I think it'll come though, like as time goes on. Like, of course, I'll get to know more and more people and kind of be able to grow my connection. So
Yeah, I kind of suck at that because like when I leave like my house and stuff, my mind is like go do what I went out to do and come back home. Like I'm not super antisocial, I do have a level
Hmm.
of being antisocial, but I do have the ability to like cut it on, like, hey, how you doing, friendly and stuff. But I'm
Yeah.
more just like I came here to grocery shop or I came here to watch the game and go back home. I'm not here to make friends in the process of it. But then I have to
Yeah.
be like, oh, I have to like be intentional about okay, I have to be B-ball Jones right now and like turn on that side because
Hmm.
it's a business opportunity. You never know. I'm never like rude or nothing, but at the same time, I'm
Yeah.
like I don't want to talk to people. You feel me? So I have
No,
to
I get that. That is
play
me
that dance.
too. That is 100% me too. But like I said, like as time has went on, like I've just learned to like you never know. Like that's something like my coaches that I work with too. They're like, just say what's up to them. Like you never know where that conversation could go, or like it could connect you with somebody they know, or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of power in that. So trying to do better with that.
Want me to give you like probably the biggest hack that's helped me?
Hmm.
Want me to give you like the biggest hack that's probably helped me the most?
Go ahead. What is it?
Start a podcast and then you just interview other people.
I don't think I would be too good at that because I'm not good with asking questions. Like I feel like I can carry on a conversation, but like exactly like what to ask and like how to bounce one idea off the other. I don't know if that's my forte, but I
Hey,
respect what you're doing for sure. Like I think that's awesome.
let me tell you this. I'm doing pretty decent right now, but if I remember talking to my aunt about this one time, and this was like maybe a few months ago, like late last year probably. And
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "How the podcast going? Like it's good, so on and so forth." And then she was like, "So what made you start it? Because it's kind of like out of all the people, we didn't expect you to be the one to do a podcast." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not surprised about that." So it's not like this is like too far out of my comfort zone. You feel me? Because
Yeah.
I can do one-on-one conversation. I can do small group conversation. You start getting big group, and I'm like, "All right, y'all had fun. I'm gonna just sit here and observe and peep game." You know.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just figuring out that dance of what you can do and can't do. So
Yeah.
that's what helped me because I know like I wouldn't be able to talk to you at least not at this point in my life and my career if I didn't have this. And so like that's what I've
Yeah.
been able to do to just be like, man, let me just get some type of outlet to get a bigger network. So
Yeah. No, I respect that. That's super awesome.
yeah, so if you want to, expand a little bit quicker, take my advice.
I know. I don't know if I can do it though. At least not right now. Like I'm so busy. I don't know how I would manage it all.
It's definitely not as it's not as easy as people make it seem. Like
Yeah.
even doing this right here, it's not like a super easy dance to make this be effortless and make it flow. So
Yeah. No, I'm knowing. But I'm sure that comes with experience too and like doing it over and over and over. Of course with different people, but like
yeah,
same format and stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, it's just like hooping. You feel me? First time you do it, you think you decent as a kid. You see you dribbling off your foot, but I only dribbled off my foot twice, so I'm not that bad. But then you get a little better, and you look back, and it's like, damn, I used to dribble off my foot all the time. That was trash. And you make a
Mhm.
layup, and it's like, yeah, like after the 10th try and the first 9, you almost broke the backboard. How hard you hit out the glass. So it's like that was pretty bad. So you look back at that, and it's like, dang, I actually got better. And it's just
Yeah,
progress like that, man.
for sure.
So you can look back at the same thing as your coaching, and you're gonna be like, man, I thought I was a decent coach back then, but oof, man, that was terrible.
Oh, I'm already knowing like at least like even like just being like present in the moment. Like I've seen like I feel like I recognize my potential, but like I feel like I'm not there yet. Like especially when it comes to like the vocal side of it. Like there's been plenty of times where like some of the other coaches are like, you know what you're talking about, just say it. And I'm just
Mm,
like super reserved or like, I'll just like pull them to the side like, "Oh, you need to." So like I feel like I have a lot to grow in and like but like I can definitely like I know I'll look back one day and be like, "Oh, she used to never say a word and like now she's
yeah,
can't shut up." So I know it'll happen one day.
yeah. I feel like I'd be the same way if I was in your shoes, because there's a level of, I'll say for me at least, I don't like making mistakes. I have like a slight level of, I don't even call it perfectionism because I don't know, it's just the fear of making mistakes, I'll say, and
Hmm.
just not being seen as correct. You feel me? So I definitely would
Yeah,
deal with
that's
that.
me too.
Yeah, so I struggle with that, and so that's where some of my lack of speaking up comes from. But
Yeah,
then you end up being like, I was right the whole time, man. Like that's the most
I know.
frustrating part.
I'll hear another coach say something. I'm like, I literally just said that. I just didn't yell it out like they did.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
It's even worse when you say it and you know it would have sounded better than what they said. That frustrates me even
Hmm.
more. Like, I'm like, dang, man, like that little
No, for
corny line
sure.
you
That's
said.
true.
Oh man. But I'm also that also gave me something to learn to be like, bro, just say it because you've shown to yourself at least that you're smarter than you've trusted yourself to be. So why not
Right.
just go out there and do it? And even if you mess up, what's the worst that's gonna happen?
Yeah. And I think for me, like, just like that, like, I'm just gonna have to learn to just say it. And, like, I've gotten to the point where, like, I'll own up if I'm wrong. Like, oh, I told her to do that. Like, that was my
Yeah,
bad. So I think, like, just, and, like, I feel like, at least for the staff that I work with, like, they're okay with that. Like, they're not gonna say, like, she's wrong, like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, but, like, correct me. And then, like, I've just learned from that. So, I think just like not being afraid to make mistakes, as you said, and just say it, and like you might be right half the time. So,
yeah. Like I think the most important part about that for most people, I'll say, is like the leadership or the team around you, because
hmm.
a lot of people are scared to take ownership of that mistake. But honestly, I was in a situation where um, I told the people around me like, "Hey, bro, we gonna do this. If it works, y'all can take the credit. If it's 100% wrong, say I did it. I don't care." And
Yeah.
granted, probably shouldn't have did that. Like that was probably the wrong thing to do, but I just didn't care in that sense. And I'm just like, bro, it need to get done. And so I'm gonna make an executive decision here. Do
Yeah.
that, and if it's wrong, I'll do it. But that frees you up so much to make more moves and make moves quicker and faster, and then you learn
Hmm.
fast. So that's my little
Yep.
2 cents of how to grow out of that.
That's true though.
Yeah. So um, I think we're gonna come close to landing this plane right now. Um, but before we do that, I want to know like what would be your recommendation or thoughts or advice to a player that's their senior year, grad year, COVID year, whatever, and they're and they're like, I'm thinking about becoming a coach. Like, what would your advice be to them?
Uh, I would definitely say do it. That would be my first answer. And I would just say trust yourself. I think it's definitely taking a big step, and like it's a huge transition from being a player to a coach, and being on the other side of things. But just trust yourself and like put yourself out there. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you don't know something, you don't know something. So I think my biggest word of advice would just be like, put yourself out there, try it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But like, at least you can say you tried it. So I think just putting yourself out there, trusting yourself, and just learning as you go. That's what I've learned. So,
And what would your biggest advice be to someone who is like, I'm struggling to deal with my confidence as a player? Like, if you could go back to younger you in high school, what
mhm.
would you tell her?
um, Same thing. Trust yourself. I think like if you put in the work, then like of course you shouldn't not trust your work in a sense. So I think like if you put in the work, like don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like it happens, and I feel like that's the only way you learn. So I think be okay with making mistakes and learn from that, and then just put yourself in a situation the next time to, I guess, not make the same mistakes. And then when it comes to just confidence levels, like, just trust yourself. Like, I think a lot of times, like, we depend on what everybody else says, and like we let coaches and parents and friends have an impact on yourself and your game. And I think, like, if you're putting in that work, then like it'll show. So I think just putting the belief in yourself and like being open to suggestions and coaching, and yeah, just be confident in your work. I feel like if you put in the work, it'll definitely show. And yeah.
All right. And for some young 17, 18-year-old girl, she's looking for a school. She's trying to play some D1 ball. Why is your school the best school for her to go to?
Well, we're building a winning culture here. The staff is great. I think we have a great culture. We have great people, great mentors around. And we simply want to win. So I would definitely say that's the reason why. And I think we're growing growing like young adults into mature adults, and also developing them on and off the court. So definitely a crucial part.
Hey, that was a key selling pitch to add in there, because I know mom's listening. She's like, "Ooh, I like that piece right there."
For sure. I would definitely want my daughter to go there if that was the case.
All right. And I think this is my last question. I can't think of anything else. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, if you could project out, like, in 5 years, this is my goal, this is my plan, or this is where I see myself. So we can look back at this and be like, dang, I did say that 5 years ago I was going to be in this place. So do your thing, speaking into existence. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I think I can see myself as an associate head coach in a P5 program.
Ooh. Do you have a dream school, or you don't care?
I don't. As long as I don't know, get along well with the coaches, of course, and the system and the culture, and it's a good fit for me. Like, I'm not really opposed to a certain school. So
you're
that's
trying to
the
tell
goal.
me Don calls you up. Don's like, hey,
Oh,
girl.
well, that's different. But if we're gonna call out certain coaches, like, yeah, I would love to work for Dawn Staley. That's
I
if
just want
she
to get the
doesn't
full
retire
truth.
before I get there. Huh?
I don't think she will retire. I think she still got some good years. And like, I heard Gino might be retiring. I heard that's a thing. But I don't think
Yeah.
Don
Well,
done.
hopefully we can keep these good coaches in the game for a little while longer till I make my way up there.
Yeah, I feel you. Well,
Yeah.
anything else you want to get off your chest? Anything else you want to say?
No, I just want to thank you for having me. Finally, we're able to work some time into my schedule for sure, and yours to allow me to do this. So thank you.
No, I appreciate you coming on. This was good. I enjoyed it. But of course, if people want to follow you, recruits or parents or just, fans of you, because you're pretty cool. You feel me? So uh I know it's Instagram. You got any other social media out there?
Yeah, I have Instagram, and then I also have Twitter, both the same handle, Chantel Govan, at Chantel Govan. Just my first and last name. But yeah.
So yeah, y'all heard her. Show her some love there. Follow her. But then like DM her and let her know like, hey, I'm here from like the BeBall Jones podcast. You were pretty dope. I feel you. I think that what you said about confidence was amazing. I agree with you about how defense is more than just effort. And I support your journey to be one of Don's or whoever's next assistant coach. Just you got to DM her all that, like all of that, not some of
Yeah.
it, not one of them, all of
That's
it.
how you build a connection right there.
You feel me? I just gave y'all another play. Y'all, I should start charging for this, man. Hey, I don't know why I'm doing this podcast for free. It's crazy. But nah, appreciate y'all for watching, man. If y'all want to follow me, y'all can. You don't have to, but I appreciate it. It's BeBall Jones. It's BeBall Jones. I'm everywhere, pretty much. You can follow me there. But I really appreciate it more if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. That'll be very fire. And then follow along like Apple and Spotify. That'll be amazing too. And tell a friend. And then tell that friend and tell another friend.
Tell a friend.
And then tell that friend and tell another friend. So now we got like everybody listen to the podcast because I got people like her on. Why would you want to miss out on that? That don't make sense. Because she got to come back on and tell me like the new job she got about being whoever assistant coach she gonna be or whoever head coach she gonna be. I don't know. She don't know.
5 years, I got you.
See, I don't know if I'll be podcasting in 5 years. Sheesh, that's a long time. We'll see.
Well, I'll DM you on Instagram then.
Yeah, we'll be talking at that point and be like, "Yo, I'm finna get this job at whoever," and I'll be like, "I told you 5 years ago." So y'all remember this moment right here. So, but I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you again, Coach, for coming on.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. But that's it, man. See y'all next time.